When I showed up to the wedding as my fiancé's +1, I was shocked to see a man sitting beside her at the bridal table, holding her hand under the tablecloth while she leaned into him and laughed. It was my best friend, the man I'd asked to be my best man. I turned around and left before either of them saw me. 2 days later, she sent her bridesmaids to my door to talk some sense into me. I'm 29, a civil engineer, and 11 weeks before all of this, I got down on one knee on a rooftop and asked Sienna to marry me. She cried. She said yes before I even finished the sentence. We'd been together 3 years, and I genuinely believed I was one of the lucky ones. She worked in event planning, so her weekends were often chaos, and I'd learned to love that about her. I was the steady one. She was the spark. That was our whole dynamic, and I thought it worked. The first thing I noticed was that she stopped leaving her phone face up. Small thing. Sienna used to drop her phone anywhere. Screen up, notifications flashing, never a thought about it. Then, sometime after the engagement, she started turning it face down on every surface, on the counter, on the nightstand, on the arm of the couch. I told myself I was being paranoid. Newly engaged people don't hide things. That's what I kept repeating in my head, like a prayer I didn't quite believe. Then the girls' nights started multiplying. Sienna had always had a full social calendar, so at first I didn't count them. But 3 a week became 4, and 4 became, I'll probably just crash at Priya's, don't wait up. She'd come home smelling like a bar she hadn't mentioned going to, humming songs I didn't recognize, glowing in a way that had nothing to do with me. When I asked how her night was, she'd give me this bright, weightless answer. Oh, you know, same old. But her eyes never quite landed on mine when she said it. I tried to bring it up once. About a month before the wedding, we were both dreading and anticipating in equal measure. We were in bed, lights off, and I said, "Do you still feel like us? Like we're solid?" There was this pause, just a beat too long. Then she rolled toward me, kissed my shoulder, and said, "Don't be weird. Of course we're solid." And I let it go, because I wanted to. Because the alternative meant pulling a thread I wasn't ready to see unravel. What made it worse, looking back, was that I had someone to talk to about all of it, and I did. His name was Reese. He'd been my best friend since our second year of university, the guy who helped me move apartments, who I'd asked to stand beside me at my own wedding. When I felt that first prickle of doubt about Sienna, Reese was the one I called. I remember sitting in my car outside a job site, telling him she'd been distant, that something felt off, and Reese said, in this calm, reassuring voice, "Man, you overthink everything. She's crazy about you. Don't blow up a good thing chasing ghosts." I actually felt better after that call. I actually thanked him. 2 weeks before our own wedding, Sienna's closest friend, Delia, was getting married. Sienna was a bridesmaid. I was invited as her +1, and honestly, I was looking forward to it. A low-stakes rehearsal for our own big day. A chance to see everyone dressed up and happy. But that week, Sienna got strange about it. "You don't have to come, you know," she said, not looking up from her laptop. "Bridal parties are boring for +1s. You'll just be sitting alone half the night." I laughed and said I wanted to be there. Something crossed her face when I said it. Not annoyance, something closer to dread. "Suit yourself," she said, and closed the laptop a little too fast. The wedding was at a vineyard about an hour outside the city. One of those golden hour venues with string lights and long communal tables, and a view that makes everyone reach for their phones. I got held up at a work site and arrived during the reception after the ceremony, later than I'd meant to. I texted Sienna that I was there. No reply. I figured she was busy with bridesmaid duties, so I walked in on my own, straightening my tie, ready to find her and make her smile. The bridal party table was set slightly apart, up near the head of the room, angled so the whole reception could see it. I spotted Sienna right away. She looked stunning, and for a second my chest actually warmed. Then I saw who was sitting next to her. Reese, in a suit I recognized, leaning in close, his mouth near her ear, saying something that made her tip her head back and laugh, that loud, unguarded laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. And under the table, where the long white cloth didn't quite reach at the corner, I could see it. His hand was over hers, fingers laced, resting on her thigh like it had a right to be there. Not a nervous touch, not an accident. A comfortable, absent-minded hold of two people who did this all the time. I stood there in the doorway for what felt like a full minute. Nobody noticed me. Sienna didn't scan the room for the fiancé she knew was coming. She wasn't looking for me at all. She was somewhere else entirely, in a little world with him, and I was watching it through glass. A waiter asked if I needed help finding my seat. "No," I said. "I'm in the wrong place," and I turned around and walked back out to my car. I didn't confront them. I didn't flip the table. I didn't even let the door slam. I just drove the hour home in silence, my hands calm on the wheel in a way that scared me a little. I kept waiting to feel rage, and instead, I felt this terrible, clarifying quiet, like a fog lifting off water. Everything from the last 3 months rearranged itself in my head. The face-down phone, the girls' nights at Priya's. You overthink everything. Reese telling me to stop chasing ghosts, while he was the ghost. That night, my phone stayed silent. No, where did you go? No, I saw you leave. Nothing. At 12:52 a.m., a single text came through from Sienna. "Heading home soon. Long night. Love you. Love you." Sent from a table where another man's hand was in her lap. I read it 4 times and turned my phone face down on the nightstand, the way she'd taught me without meaning to. Day 1, I said nothing. I went to work. I answered emails. I ate lunch at my desk and stared at the wall. Day 2, still nothing from me. And that silence, I could tell, was doing something to her, because the missed calls started stacking up in the afternoon. 3 of them. No voicemail. She could feel the ground shifting, and she didn't know how much I'd seen. Part of me wanted to call and scream scream. A bigger part of me already knew everything I needed to know and was just waiting to see how she'd try to talk her way out of it. Then, on the evening of the second day, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw two women I recognized from Sienna's stories, Priya and Nadia, her bridesmaids, the girls from all those nights, of course. I opened the door. "Hey," Priya said with a smile so polished it looked rehearsed in the car. "Can we come in? Sienna's really worried about you." "Is she?" I said. I didn't move. "She's a wreck," Nadia added, softer, the good cop. "You left the wedding without a word, and now you won't answer her. She doesn't understand what's going on." I stepped aside and let them in, mostly out of a cold curiosity about what script they'd been handed. They sat on my couch like they'd sat there before, and maybe in Sienna's stories they had. Priya crossed her legs and got right to it. "Look, whatever you think you saw, it's really not—" "Say his name," I said. She stopped. Nadia's eyes dropped to her hands. That flicker of a shared glance between them told me everything. They knew. They'd known for weeks. They were the girls' nights. "You mean Reese," Priya said carefully. "They just get along. They're friends because of you. You know that. You introduced them." "I did," I said. "I asked him to be my best man." I let that sit in the room. "So when you sit here and tell me my fiancé and my best man holding hands under a table at a wedding is nothing, I need you to understand how insane that sounds." Nadia's voice was almost a whisper. "It's complicated." "It's really not." I walked to the kitchen and got myself a glass of water and offered them nothing. "Here's what's not complicated." She hid her phone. She spent her nights out. She told me not to come to that wedding. And when I came anyway, I found out why. You two knew, and you came here to manage me. To keep me calm and confused long enough for her to figure out what she wants. That's the job she sent you to do. "That's not fair," Priya started, and then heard how weak it sounded, and stopped. "How long?" I asked them directly. "You know, just tell me." They didn't answer, but Nadia's face did. A wince, a flush, eyes on the carpet. That was the answer. "That's what I thought," I said. "You can tell Sienna that if she wants to say something to me, she can come and say it herself. To my face, and stop hiding behind the two of you. Tell her to be an adult about the thing she chose to do." They left without much else. Priya paused at the door like she wanted to salvage something, then thought better of it. 20 minutes after they drove off, my phone buzzed. "Sienna, Priya told me what you said. Please, can we talk? I'm coming over." I didn't reply. I just sat down and waited. She showed up 40 minutes later, eyes swollen, makeup already ruined from crying in the car. She stood in my doorway looking smaller than I'd ever seen her, and I stepped aside without a word. She walked into the middle of my living room and clasped her hands in front of her like she was about to give a presentation she hadn't finished writing. "I don't know what you think you saw," she began. "Don't," I said. "Do not insult me. I watched his hand in your lap for a full minute, and you never once looked up for me. So don't stand in my apartment and pretend I imagined it." Her face collapsed. "It's not—" She stopped, started over. "Reese and I got close. It just happened. The wedding planning, all the group stuff. We kept ending up together, and it just happened. I never planned it." "What happened?" I said. "Use the actual word." "We've been seeing each other," she whispered. "It's been going on for a little while. I didn't want it to." "How long, Sienna? And do not lie to me. I am completely out of patience for lies." She sank onto my couch. "Since about a month before you proposed." The room went very still. "Before I proposed?" I repeated. "You knew. When you cried and said yes on that roof, you were already seeing him. You said yes to me while you were sleeping with my best friend. I thought it would stop," she sobbed. "I thought if we got engaged, it would just go away, and it would be you and me, and I wanted that. I did." "You wanted a backup," I said, and my own steadiness surprised me. "You wanted to keep both of us until one of you won. That's not confusion, Sienna. That's a plan. He understands parts of me you never tried to," she said, and there it was. The pivot to my fault. "You were always working, always so calm about everything. And Reese actually listens. He actually—" "Reese," I said, "sat in my passenger seat, took my calls when I was scared I was losing you, and told me I was imagining it. He looked me in the eye and told me to stop chasing ghosts. And you let him. So don't tell me about who listens." She had no answer to that. There wasn't one. "Were you ever going to tell me?" I asked. "Or were you going to walk down the aisle in 2 weeks and just hope?" "I don't know," she said, and somehow that was the most honest thing she'd said in months, and it landed harder than any of the lies. "Get out," I said quietly. "Take your things off my porch tomorrow when I'm at work. I'll box them up tonight. Block me everywhere so I don't have to be the one to do it. We're done." "Please," she said, standing, reaching for my arm. "We can fix this. Therapy, whatever you want. I'll end it with Reese tonight. I'll do anything. You'll do anything except own it," I said, stepping back so her hand caught air. "You'll say anything except— I chose to do this for months, and I let my friends and your friends and my best friend all lie to your face. A mistake is a wrong turn. This was a choice you made every single day since before I even asked you to marry me. I love you," she said, crying openly now. "No," I said, "you don't. You don't do this to people you love." I opened the door. "Now, Sienna." She stopped at the threshold, her hand on the frame. "I really am sorry," she said, without turning around. "I believe you," I said, "but sorry doesn't unhear my best friend telling me I was crazy." "Go." She went. I listened to her heels down the hall until the stairwell door closed, and then it was quiet, and I sat down, and I did not feel like crying. I felt like someone had finally turned off a noise I'd been living with so long I'd stopped hearing it. Update 3 weeks later. I blocked them both the next morning, Sienna and Reese, every app, every number. I boxed her things and left them on the porch, and she took them while I was at work, and there was no note. I told our mutual friends I had nothing to say and no interest in the details, and to their credit, most of them respected it. A few of them quietly, told me they'd wondered for a while. That stung in its own way. That other people had seen the shape of it before I let myself. Canceling a wedding is its own strange grief. I made the calls. The venue, the caterer, the man who was going to marry us. Every call was a small, clean cut. What surprised me was how much lighter I felt with each one, like setting down bags I'd been carrying up a hill for months without noticing the weight. Last week, I ran into Delia, the bride, whose wedding it was, at the hardware store. She looked mortified to see me. "I am so sorry," she said. "I had no idea until after, I swear. I would never have sat them together if I'd known. Everyone's saying he's already staying at her place." She hesitated, then added, lower. "For what it's worth, nobody liked how Reese did it. Best man, at a wedding. People are disgusted." I told her it was fine, that Sienna made her choice, and I meant it more than I expected to. I'm doing better than I thought I'd be. I sleep now. I don't lie awake decoding a face-down phone. I don't rehearse conversations in the shower. Some evenings are heavy, sure, but the anxiety that had become my whole personality for 3 months is just gone, and in its place is something I'd almost forgotten. Quiet. My own quiet. That nobody else gets to interrupt. Final update. 2 months later. Last night, a text came in from a number I'd blocked once, but that had somehow rolled over to a new one. "It's Reese. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I owe it to you to be honest. Sienna and I aren't working. It fell apart the second it wasn't a secret anymore. She talks about you constantly. I think we both made a huge mistake, and I think she'd take it all back if you let her."